Have you ever had your mind blown? If not, I think it's time I've showed you something.
It is the 17th of the 4th, 2014. This is your radioactive reality. E&E News. LA news outlet Fukushima plume worries to sink fishing industry, ? Area newspaper, quote, warning readers to avoid eating locally caught fish. Some Korean newspapers in the LA area have been telling their readers for a few months now, don't eat the locally caught fish, Fukushima radiation danger. And of course, Homeland Security Center Director, a banana has 100 times more radiation than what you're going to catch in your bluefin tuna, which is complete and total bullshit. No doctor can explain what's happening to U.S. Navy officer's body. Quote, I'm basically kind of deteriorating. After Fukushima radiation exposure, my leg is 17 centimeters smaller. Same with my right arm. Radiation levels missing from medical records. That'll be interesting in court later. Former U.S. official, war in Ukraine could cause disaster worse than Chernobyl and Fukushima. Situation, quote, calls for greater global concern. Multiple scenarios result in meltdown. Foreign minister, potential threat to many nuclear facilities. You got to worry about the fog of war and all the craziness that happens during wartime. What happens if there's a power outage at one of these nuclear power plants during this revolution? Interesting things indeed. Something we should very well pay attention to. The insanity continues. Vancouver Sun. Scientists concerned dolphin species on West Coast could be negatively impacted by Fukushima nuclear waste. People pay money to these people to do these things. Radiation levels to be increasing for years to come along the coast. Canadian government sampling for iodine-129 in the Pacific Ocean. Navy sailor skin inflammation while carrying American flag that was exposed to Fukushima plume. Whole left side of body was affected. They were immediately stripped, clothes off, hosed him down. It became an extreme emergency. It just goes to prove that the Navy knew exactly what was going on. And the insanity continues. Don't worry, folks. Everything's completely under control. National Geographic. Fukushima considered world's worst nuclear accident. Physician, Fukushima remains a global health concern. Kaku, quote, it's so bad they don't even have a picture of the melted core. It's not just one, it's 3. And 4 spent fuel pools to boot. The agony is unending and will continue. We're just getting started, folks. 1,133 days into it. Senior scientists, cancer increase expected on West Coast from Fukushima exposures. Radioactive particles can bioaccumulate from hot spots while crossing the Pacific. Concerned California wildlife to be impacted. Sea life can biomagnify nuclear waste, leading to higher and higher levels of radiation. Aren't we on the top of the food chain? Oh, these poor animals. Not one peep about the people. Interesting. Radiation spike in ocean off of Fukushima. Highest cesium-137 levels at location since 2011. 22,000 becquerels in Pacific outside of the port. Japanese notifies the IAEA of elevated readings. You got to remember the coriums are no longer in the reactors. They are under the buildings and in the environment. And all kinds of strange things are just starting to get started. Hundreds of tons of water in contact with melted nuclear fuel have now flooded basement at Fukushima plants. Oops. Nearly 10 trillion becquerels of cesium, concentration of strontium-90 and other radioactive materials not reported. Do you remember there are 1,300 or so of these isotopes? Most of them so top secret, you and I will never know about them. but they only tell you about testing one at a time. The insanity continues. Fairwind's video anomalies in plants and animals documented by Fukushima residents, some severely deformed. Scientists' genetic mutation observed in Fukushima include trees with particular distortions, insect abnormalities, tumors in birds, and more. Canaries in the coal mine. Look at all the studies they did in Chernobyl. Hey, don't worry, folks. Everything's good to go for the Olympics, huh? Quake hits just off a Japan plant felt along 500-kilometer stretch of Japan coast. Seismic intensity of 4 on scale up to 7. Camera shakes for about a minute. Got to remember these buildings are damaged. They're not the only reactor buildings that were damaged in that initial quake back in 2011. We don't hear about any of these other reactors. I think there was like 17 of them declared an emergency that day. New radioactive leak reported at Fukushima on Sunday. Previous leak admitted to be far more toxic than public told. You think? Over 80 trillion becquerels flowed into the Pacific, unspecified amount, near nuclear fuel material. Already rated an INES level 3 incident using much lower incorrect figures. And the stories have been coming out over and over and over again how they are lowballing the numbers on this thing. Nowhere even close to the reality. And all these so-called models, these computer models that they punch in the numbers that they want to punch into and get the results that they want to get to report to you. Don't worry, folks. Everything's perfectly under control. Just another day in the neighborhood. Nuclear engineer radiation levels much higher in areas of Fukushima plume headed to the west coast than models show. Radio concern other isotopes besides cesium to cross the Pacific. You think? Fukushima worker on the verge of breakdown speaking about 311. I've already covered this story. The earth around me distorted like jello. Massive upheavals taking the entire reactor 1 turbine building with it. Sounds like it wanted to come apart, going to explode. Concrete floor and walls around us began to crack. Highly damaged building in a severely seismic zone. What were they thinking? They just want to turn them all back on. That's about all I have for you today. Of course, if I missed anything, please let me know. Attach your comments or your videos down in the comment box. Enjoy while you can, everybody. I am. Thanks.
By completing this video, you have proven you are capable of filming, producing, and editing your own. We expect one video from you by the end of next week.